Hi guys, you there?
We are, thank you.
Okay, great. So we're live on Facebook now too. We're doing this Zoom meeting, and just it's time to introduce ourselves and what we're here for. So my name is Willis, and I'm a realtor and associate broker at Preferred Properties, also with the South Shore Home Finder team at Preferred Properties. And I'd like to introduce the rest of us today. Charlotte Bittner, she's also a realtor and associate broker at Preferred Properties and on the South Shore Home Finder team as well. John Nelson from Nelson and Roche Associates, attorneys at law. He's the managing broker.
Hello, everybody.
And we have Brian Comer from Draper Kramer Mortgage Corp. out of Norwell office, senior loan officer and owner. So
you have to refer me more because that didn't roll off your tongue. That was just Brian Comer. Where is he from?
I'm sorry.
Don't confuse my shirt. I have a preferred property shirt. Do not confirm me with a realtor.
Well, sorry about that, Brian. Brian's has extensive experience in mortgage writing loans. He's incredibly busy right now. Thanks for taking time out of your day actually to join us. Everybody's pretty busy as we speak. I'm assuming, correct?
What's that?
I think everybody's busy right now trying to get a handle on our transitions and procedures at the moment.
I think that's true. You know, I really, and I think the purpose of this presentation for everyone out there is to let you know that you can still buy real estate, that there are tools and there are ways in which, whether it's the mortgage process or whether it's finding a home with a realtor or it's going to closing, that there are still ways of keeping your social distance and be able to go ahead and apply for a loan, get approved for a loan, look for properties, and close on a property. And it can sometimes actually, I think we were talking about this morning, I think it actually is a nicer experience for the consumer because they can spend a little more time on their mortgage process, learn more about different programs because you have a little more face-to-face, even if it's, you know, with a Zoom call like this, or, you know, you just learn about the products just on the phone. And I think it's the same from what I heard from you guys, that searching for real estate, that you can really narrow down what particular properties that consumer is looking for or what their goals are when they're selling.
Exactly, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. So can I start with just the whole mortgage process and
Brian,
how it's working?
That would be great, Brian, because I have so many, clients that were in process right now, really curious about what to do. First of all, while they're in process, what's going to happen to their loans? What happened, just all the way around, very nervous, very worried. And then also what the rates are, what the rates might be doing, what happened last week, what's going on altogether in the mortgage industry. So if you could just give them some guidance, that would be great.
I will. And let me start with interest rates. And, you know, we were at 2.75, 2.875, roughly about 1 month ago, just under a month ago. And then everything froze. Our whole lives got turned upside down. But what froze is the markets. And when that happened, people stopped buying mortgage-backed securities. And we immediately, one morning we woke up, we were at 2.75. The next morning we woke up, we were at 4.25. Let me shut this off over here. That was the town of Norwell's afternoon update on their Corona, you know, what they're doing. So the rates did go up. But since then, the Federal Reserve has come in and start buying mortgage-backed securities to drive our rates back down again. So we're in the low threes on mortgage rates again, depending on your credit score and the type of property that you're buying. The issue, you know, that you have, and the only issue that you will have when you're in a mortgage process right now, is if you're going with a portfolio product, because the Federal Reserve did not buy securities to keep that market fluid. And when I say that, it's products that would be like a no ratio loan or an asset-based loan. But for the most part, 98% of the consumers out there buying a home are going to find that the mortgage process is much like they've always remembered it. And if they haven't remembered it, they weren't part of it before, they're going to find that the tools are phenomenal when you're looking to get pre-approved. You have a phone app that you fill out the application on, or tablet, or your computer. And while we're going through the process, you can upload any documents or statements on that app. And then I have it all in front of me, and I'm able to go ahead and you know, calculate what you qualify for, look at your credit report with your phone app that you. I think we're getting a little bit of a delay there. So the process actually is a little bit easier, and I can work with you on getting the particular mortgage that you're looking for a lot easier, especially when I have more time with you and where you're sitting at home and not doing anything. It's, you know, where, you know, we can go ahead and help you out with that. And then the process goes to, and this is where maybe John's going to come in. So once you have a home, and I'm going to jump over the Realtors for a second. You have a home, and we fill out the application. Then you can do your purchase and sales. Again, John, you're going to be able to do the purchase and sales via email with people so that they can keep the distance, but you're able to talk to them on the phone and give them a little more detailed information. And then, John, I have some questions for you. The part of it, once the offer has been accepted and they sign the purchase and sales, and they can do that via email as well, and they can do that through the dot loop or whatever those other systems are. How do you do the titles, the municipal lien certificates, the plot plans, the payoffs, and the power of attorneys when it's under the current environment that we're in? So if we can start with the titles and the municipal lien certificates, I think the plot plans are pretty easy, right? Because people can just walk around the house. They don't have to actually go in and see anybody.
Yeah, and they still do that. I mean, I think that we're still ordering the plot plans, and the surveyors are going out and they're still doing that. So I don't think that that's been affected as much as even the title examiners. You know, we have title examiners that we employ, and they're able to go online, and everything is pretty much online now. So for the most part, the title examination process hasn't really slowed down. I think the slowdown comes in the towns, where the towns have reduced their staff. So getting the municipal lien certificates, you know, was before, for instance, you know, you might be able to pick up a phone and you might be able to call to get that tax information on a refinance, right? And now that's not necessarily the case. And so maybe we're having to order a municipal lien certificate, which will take just a hair longer. I think that's part of it. I think even the payout, you know, obtaining payoffs on people's existing loans. I find that has slowed down. The banks have short-staffed, and based on, you know, the current conditions, is a delay.
Can I interrupt? Aren't those automated though? Aren't the payoffs automated?
Some of them are. It depends on the lender. Some of them are, and some of them aren't. Right. So some of them require. You know, we have to have a release signed, right? So we have to draft a release, get a release signed, get the release over to them, at which point they'll allow us to talk to them. So I guess it just depends on the lender. Some of them are just automated, and it's simple. It takes 2 seconds.
All right, and then how about the recordings? Can you explain how that's all going to work now? You know, can you, obviously nobody's allowed in the registry. Are they doing curbside drop-offs? Are they? You can do
curbside drop-offs. I mean, for a period of time now, the registries have allowed electronic recordings using a software called Simplifile, and like my firm utilizes that. So a lot of the electronic recordings, like we've been recording all day today, we're able to actually upload those documents to the registry, which allows us to take the originals, upload them up, and then what they'll do is they'll record them as if they had the originals themselves, which eliminates the need to actually go to a registry of deeds and stand in line and go in front of a counter and, you know, give the documents over to one of the recorders and stand there. So my understanding is that for the most part, that's all the registries are taking. Some registries are doing a curbside drop-off where you can actually drop the documents off. I did that last week at Rockland, just to ensure that something got on in time. And they have a folder, you pull up, you just put it inside the folder, and they see you, and then you leave, and then they get the documents and they record the documents for you. So no human contact. So I mean, there are challenges to the legal end of it, but I think that they're not insurmountable, and I think it's But
it's moving along, is what you're saying. Have you ever gotten any one-offs that you can't get done, like maybe land court item or?
Well, land court, like I have a project I'm working on now for land court, and I have the plans that finally got dropped off to me today. So my understanding when I talk to land court is they want the plans mailed to them regular mail. So you can't overnight them, you can't drop them off. You know, they don't want to see you, and they don't want to see a FedEx. They just want you to drop them in regular mail and then put them in a mailbox and let it work its way through. So, you know, that process may be delayed a little bit, but I think everybody's still working. And so I think that it seems like there's a shutdown for large segments of the population and for the industries, but I don't believe that's true for what we do, for our process.
Pretty much all closings are happening. You know what I mean? There's nothing to actually stop anyone if they found a home that they love and they want to buy it and they want to close. There's nothing that's stopping someone on your side that would, we talked about some things today earlier, like the if it's a condo and that, you need that lien certificate, which is called a 6D certificate, that there's still ways that you can do certify that you spoke to them, and you can't record it, of course, because you don't have it yet, but.
Right. I think that the trick here is that you have to be creative and find a solution to the problem, right? Because you're going to come across problems, and if you're creative, I know, for instance, and I know a lot of other firms are probably doing the same thing, but we're doing what we can to keep everybody safe. So I try to keep my office safe. I try to keep my paralegals and myself safe, and I try to keep the borrowers safe, right? I mean, they don't necessarily want to come in here. So we're being more creative with that. There are certain documents that have to be recorded where an attorney has to see you actually sign documents in order to notarize your signature under the laws of the Commonwealth and the notary laws. And I know that there's a bill pending where they're looking to change that, where we could do it now, right? For instance, Zoom would go through the documents with somebody and then eventually notarize their signature. That's not the case right now, but I don't think that that's preventing things from happening. I mean, we're still doing closings, and it seems like everybody understands the situation. So
can I ask you a question? Like,
Sure.
say you did a closing and it's actually at someone's house, or you do it at an office. I mean, can you stand outside the door and talk to them through the the storm door and do it that way?
Sure. And
So
I've heard of people doing drive-up closings. Like we've had people pull up and literally sign the 5 pages in their car and then hand us the documents.
Like same type of thing.
And record them. So, I mean, I think it's worked. It's, they seem comfortable with it. I think everybody understands the situation. So everybody's pretty flexible and everyone's trying to work together. Same common goal, right? To get it done.
Right.
So
how are you guys doing?
Can I ask a question to John? John, do
Sure.
you think that bill will pass about the notary that's happening right now in Mass?
I do. And I certainly hope that it does, because I think that this will go a long way to helping in a situation like this. And I think,
Can you just explain what that bill is, just for anyone that's listening that isn't familiar with it?
It's bill number 2882, and it's in the Senate now. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow attorneys, because Massachusetts is an attorney state, and so therefore it requires an attorney to do a real estate closing, right? It's an attorney state. And so what my understanding of the bill is, it would allow us to use a Zoom application or a similar application, or Gmail or FaceTime or some type of an application where you would be able to witness somebody signing documents, and based on that, you would be able to notarize it, fill out an affidavit, and include it. And I think that my understanding is that bill's up there. It's pending. I think REBA, which is the Real Estate Bar Association, is trying to push that so that can get signed. Given the uncertainty of the situation we're in, how long it will last, I think it's important that they pass it. So hopefully they do.
Good. Awesome.
Right. And Brian, what would you say to? Okay, so when I put this together, I wanted to talk about sellers. So all of these sellers are right now hanging on, and we have our own sort of procedures and precautions coming down the line, and this virus is hitting so many people, and I think we're all in this sort of a huge transition right now, and how our industry is going to be right now and what is going to happen in the next few months. And there's a lot of uncertainty out there, obviously, and the number one goal is to keep everybody safe, everybody's home being safe, and we definitely—
I think that's the key word.
Yeah,
I think that's a key word.
Practice that. I just, there are so many buyers out there that were in the middle of doing all of this, and they're worried that they're going to get laid off. They're worried that they might not have a job tomorrow, or they're home working and bored and just want to be out there buying right now. So what's your suggestion to tell people like where the rates are today and maybe what to do about that? How is the mortgage process going to look? I mean, I know you've been doing applications online, so isn't everybody. So as far as communicating with you and getting pre-approved if they're home, can they still do that? Is that doable? Which I know.
Well, it's exactly like what we're doing right now. We do a lot of video calls, much like doctors nowadays. There's a lot of them are doing either the telecall or a video call, and they're doing, the appointments are, they want to see you. It's hard to do it just on the phone sometimes. So you can have conversations with a couple or whatever it might be. And, we're, as far as what we do when we're doing that is we're going over the credit and coming up with rates. Right now is a great time to buy. And I know, and it's a great time to sell, because one, if you're a seller, there's not a lot in the market. So you're getting a premium on your property, or you should be getting a premium on your property. As a buyer, you're getting all this attention, meaning that the interest rates are low. They're fantastic. Because we have to communicate like this, everyone's not running around. They're actually in their house and they can spend a half hour on the phone with you and discuss their financing and discuss the best ways to go and find different unique ways to make things work for their benefit. And I feel that that's the same way for the process of buying a home. They're getting more of our attention because of the marketplace is the way it is. And, there's positive things, and it's kind of like my neighborhood right now. It's a big circle. And I think I told you guys about this before. I don't think I've ever talked to so many of my neighbors that I have in the last 4 or 5 days. When we're all home, where it's fantastic. We have, obviously we're 6 feet apart, but we have, not bonfires, but fire pits and things of that nature. So of course, we all bring our own wine glasses and drinks and whatever. But at the same time, it's, you're really getting to talk to people nowadays. So I think it's the same thing with this purchase. You're really getting, I think, more time with people. Aren't you, Charlotte? Aren't you, Cara? I mean, are you able to really talk to your clients now and you're getting FaceTime like this? You may not be next to them, but you're getting a lot of FaceTime. And it's kind of like when I called John's office. John spends, 20 minutes on the phone, where like 2 months ago, he couldn't get me off the phone fast enough. He was on his way into court, or he's on his way into closing. So, and now when I talk to John can actually spend 5 minutes with me and go over something. So I think it's a good process.
Yeah. Charlotte, so I know we have customers, and as far as procedures and protocols and keeping everybody as safe as possible, I mean, I know that the governor has basically asked everyone non-essential to stay in place. You want to talk about what we're doing a little bit on how we're dealing with the whole situation?
Sure. Just a couple of examples here, though, that, we're talking about sellers, but we're also talking about buyers. I did have a call, the other day. Someone said, I'm just going to postpone till next spring. And you know what? You just have to respect their choices. But then there are other people that are contacting me that, are like, I want it on the market, I want it sold. So with kind of dealing with everyone's personal choices and moving forward based on what the CDC has recommended, we have chosen to kind of follow some procedures and protocols that basically, I think the theme here is keeping everyone safe, keeping, myself as an agent safe, keeping the buyer safe, also keeping the seller safe. I have chosen, I think we kind of are in agreement to deal with everything on a case-by-case basis, but, we've kind of withheld or held back on open houses. We're following, I guess you can see sometimes in the listings, it says CDC protocols or guidelines. We're using hand sanitizers, gloves. If a buyer, wants to use a mask, that's fine. But I think before we even get into physically walking or being in a home, and I am lucky I have some vacant homes, but we're using some procedures or processes available to us to kind of get the buyer and seller to a place that is a little bit out of the norm, but it's helpful. We have technology that allows us to do video tours and 3D tours. So you can kind of either get the buyer to a property without physically being there. They can do drive-bys. But then on the seller side, you know, again, keeping everyone safe and comfortable, we're doing these 3D tours and, you know, 360 tours, again, to almost like teleport people into their homes and keeping everyone safe. No one's physically there, but it feels as though they are there. And they
I think that's kind of a nice way to do it as well, because you're actually getting to really get a feel for the property that you're going to be purchasing or maybe purchasing, and
sure.
you're able to, like, eliminate the ones you would never be interested in. You're not driving
Exactly.
around. You know.
Exactly. And that's the thing is, again, it's a little bit, you know, out of the norm, but it's something that's available to us. So we're trying new things. And, you know, I think basically it's on a case-by-case basis, but because we're not doing open houses like we typically do during the peak season, you know, spring, these are things I think that are working. I mean, we have people that are, you know, we're bringing sellers and buyers together in kind of a unique way.
Right. I know the numbers for Massachusetts from last week to this week, they've come down a bit. So people are pulling their homes temporarily off the market. So we're able to do that too, but there are other options available that Massachusetts MLS, which is our MLS, that they're putting in place right now, I believe. So they'll have different options. One of those is to keep it live and active if the seller wanted to, where we can defer showings, because I'm pretty sure right now, and I'm so proud of the realtors out there, the real estate profession right now, because we are really taking steps in accordance with the governor. And I really think that a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, we're not doing open houses. We can control them, we can, but I think it's just not a great idea. Nobody really should be, we should be just kind of sheltering in place. I don't think we're extremely essential right now. And I don't think the sellers are going to lose much if they have to wait a few weeks to put their home on the market too. But like you said, some people want to do it, right? And you can defer showings. So we're able to put homes on the market and then defer, like, no showings until maybe April 7th. So that's really kind of the date we're gearing toward. And maybe, I don't think anything's going to be cured or set by then, but it's going to give us a little bit more of a better viewpoint by then. What do you guys think about the April 7th date on things? I don't think it's...
Well, I have a couple things to say. One, you said you guys aren't essential right now. I think you actually are essential, and you have lots of education. You have lots of education you can provide consumers that want to buy, and sellers. You know, like, as you guys said earlier today, and we had a little meeting before this meeting, that, you know, someone wants to put the house on the market, you can go through them, you know, with them. Well, let's, you know, the garage, or, you know, let's clean up the basement, or let's start, you know, getting the place ready to go on the market. So when we can get it going. And then
that's key. And
getting people, you know, figuring out like exactly what they want. I mean, do you have kids? How many kids do you want? I mean, making sure that we're, you know, getting the right property for you, so that, you know, sometimes you're like, well, we're putting an offer in, but, you know, we really wanted a 3-bedroom and not a 2-bedroom. And, you know, you're really just, you know, you're delineating exactly what these people are looking for now, the consumers are looking for. But just because you're sheltered in place and you're not out showing doesn't mean that preparation. I think preparation is still so important on both sides there. And, you know, just because, you know, like John with the purchase and sales, you know, you get a purchase and sales, we need to sign it tomorrow. Now you can actually spend a little time with it and talk to people about the P&S.
What's that like?
Right, exactly. You know, it's like, we have to sign it tomorrow. I just think it's, honestly, if you're a consumer out there watching, I actually think this is better for you. It's, you're getting you're not closing within 30 days anymore. You're closing in 45, or you're closing in 60, and you're just getting to really enjoy the experience, and you should be enjoying it. You're going to spend 60% of your life in this house. You might as well go ahead and meaning, when I say that 60%, you're going to be sleeping there. You wake up, have breakfast, you have the weekends there. Put a little effort into the property before you purchase.
The thing I wanted to say, just on your note there, Brian, is that a lot of accommodations are being made on the legal side of things. John, you pointed those things out. On the loan and financial side of things, as well as with the MLS, and the Realtor Association side of things. Cara, you touched on the status. We're allowed to be active if our sellers choose to stay active, and we can defer showings. There's a lot of
Can I interrupt?
Things that we have. Sure.
Okay, look what Kara had said this morning. Kara, you can still show. I mean, you were talking about
what I was going to say is
about that process in which you can put on the gloves and put on the sanitizer and still go through and show the whole property with this program you have. I think that, and it's, to be honest with you, it's almost like it's virtual, and it's not like a normal virtual, it's a real virtual.
No, it is virtual, but the other thing I was going to point out is that if someone chooses to not have their listing active, there is also another status that is called coming soon, which, some of us have utilized and some of us have not. I have actually utilized it 3 or 4 times already, and it's fabulous for this type of environment whereby you can be out there amongst the real estate agents. And as the seller, it's not a secret. If someone's working with a buyer's agent, that person's notified that this house is coming soon. It's not syndicated to the third party, such as Zillow or Realtor.com, but it's not a secret listing. And then the other thing I was going to say is that if the buyers and sellers are working with the professionals, such as the loan officers and the attorneys and their real estate agents,
I thought you mentioned attorneys.
What?
I thought you said professionals and you mentioned attorneys.
I know. We got to add some humor in here. John, good thing you have a thick skin.
I'm used to it.
But what I was going to say is the most important thing here too is because all these procedures and kind of exceptions and workarounds have been kind of working in everyone's favor, the buyers and sellers out there should stay in contact with their professionals. Stay in contact with your loan officer. Keep your application up to date, because when this all does come around and turn around, which you know what, it's going to, because there's still buyers out there and there's still sellers out there. We may not be able to do our business as we've known it in the past, but stay in touch with your loan officer, stay in touch with your attorney, stay in touch with your agents, because when this does wake up and when it does kind of, the dust settles, so to speak, there's going to be business to be had and selling and buying. And you want to be, in a position to be able to act instead of having to play catch up and having gone into this kind of, pause, that's good, pause. Don't unplug, I guess is what I would like to say.
I would say, I think touching on what Brian said though, I agree with kind of what Brian's saying, in that the technology that you guys utilize is certainly, it's changing. And I think that because of what everybody's experienced, there's no way that it doesn't have ramifications one way or another, whether it means that you're using the videos more, or maybe you're doing the 360 video that you have, where someone can view that house before without even getting out of their car and stepping into that house. Right. They can view that house to determine whether or not it fits their criteria. And I think that on the legal end, and I think on your end, I think probably on Brian's end, it's all in some way, some shape or form, it's going to change, right? The process will change based on technology or some other improvement. I just think it has to happen. I think it will happen.
And you might find, John, that that exactly what we're doing or what's taking place now, it might become the norm.
So you're saying we're cutting edge?
Yeah, we're cutting edge. So like if Cara went ahead and I was working with her to buy a home, And she said, Brian, do you have a half hour tonight? I have 3 homes I want to show you. And then we went over all 3 of the homes, which she had gone ahead and did this. I don't know what the video is called, Kara, but it's,
No,
but if you were to say, you know, show me these 3 homes, and we went over each one of them, we were able to talk about them, and we were able to, you know, really cover them. It's actually a nicer way. And I feel like exactly what Charlotte said, just because we're at home doesn't mean we unplug from this.
Mhm.
And it gives us time to have, like, I call it the 5-minute conversation. So let's take the smoke detector certs. You know, right now we can't get them. So you have the 5-minute conversation with the seller and say, hey, I want to let you know, even though we can't get these, you're going to find that the bank is going to require that we hold back some of your money, $1,000 or $2,000, until those smoke detectors can be had again. And once we get the smoke, they'll release the funds back to you. So, and let them know, like, you know, they're probably going to feel like, geez, what do you mean you're taking my money? And then, John, what we talked about, the 6D certificate, you know, exactly what happens with the 6D. You know, you've got to then, I don't know, how much does it cost you? A 6D, guys, everybody out there, is a certificate supplied by the management company or trustees of a condo association to say that there's no outstanding liens on that unit in which someone's buying. So we need that at time of closing, but we can't get them right now. So John, how much, you know, if you have to record that 2 weeks after, what's the real cost, like your fee to get it done and the recording fees at a later date? And how much money would you hold back from a seller until you receive that and got it?
Well, I think you'd have to hold back enough money to ensure that there was sufficient funds to pay it. So let's, for instance, say that the condo fee was, pick a number, $700 a month, right? So just say the fees totaled $700 a month, and you're thinking it's going to be 2 weeks out, but knowing the uncertainty, you know, you might want to collect 4 months of that, right? So maybe you want to collect $3,000, $2,500, and hold that in escrow, so that you ensure, as the closing attorney, that you're going to have the sufficient funds to pay that off in the event that the seller didn't pay it for whatever reason. And then,
right, I get it, because they're probably a month behind, is what you're saying. So
sure, it could be a month behind, or they don't pay, or maybe it gets delayed another 60 days, right? So if it doesn't get paid in the next 60 days, because really what you're trying to do is mitigate your liability, right? Because there's certainly liability associated with doing that.
Make sure your buyer gets a clean title.
Right, because ultimately they're the ones who will end up having to pay it.
Yeah, but a 5-minute conversation, as I said, with your seller saying, we're going to sell, we can't get your 6D, we can't get your smoke cert. These are the things that are going to happen at time of closing, but I'll be there for you to get all that money back as we get these things.
Right.
Appraisals are working though. I mean, you know, so they're going out, right? They're essential. They're doing the appraisals are still happening, right? That's one thing.
And we went, Kara, you know, we went to most of your, unless it's a portfolio product or construction loan or something like that, we've gone to exterior appraisals. So we're not even going into people's properties anymore. One, for the safety of the appraiser, and they can see the interior anyhow through the realtor's pictures and whatever that might be. And so they're another workaround that's taking place, the exterior appraisal.
I know we were just talking about that too, because a lot of things are under construction or closing. They're being built. I have, you know, a client online right now. She's, you know, she was asking me a question. She's very nervous. What about rate locks, Brian? So she has a buyer that has, is buying her home, and she's buying another home, and it's probably going to be held up. That was being built. I'm sure contractors are all over the place, you know, with trying to figure out, how they're getting things done, although they are, and it is moving. You know, if it's a week or two late now, I'm sure everybody's going to be great with extensions, by the way. So I can't, I know we're already dealing with that. And I know there's, you know, paperwork and legal things, John, maybe you can, you know, it's in P&Ss. I think we were talking about, there's going to be wording, there's going to be extensions, but what about rate locks, Brian? So just in case, you know, people don't know out there, if you have to extend a closing, your buyer rate is only locked for a certain amount of time. And after that period of time goes by, if they have to extend that rate lock, it usually costs some money to the buyer, which is usually put on the seller if it's their fault for holding up the deal. So maybe get into that a little bit. And
Right now, it's nobody's fault, right? So it's really, for the most part, it's nobody's fault.
yeah,
I do want to get back to that on with John though, because of the standard purchase and sale. So let me circle back with that. But as far as the rate locks go, you have to work with your lender. One, I mean, I would go ahead and always, pick up an extension fee or something for a week and a half. Beyond that, it's going to get too expensive, and I'm going to need some participation. So that participation would have to come from the buyer or the seller.
so is the financial world out there? I mean, I know you're not in charge of Fannie and Freddie making those rate lock extensions, but do you think there's going to be?
He should be.
Right.
He should be the judge, the judge and the jury. Do you think that there's going to be some sort of a waiver in there anywhere? Like with Freddie, we just
No.
in the
No, I
upper
don't.
levels of that? No.
No, because you want to some Fannie and Freddie. I don't want to get too deep on this, but they have the mortgage-backed securities, and when we own the mortgage-backed security, we have to fill that security. So, if we buy, let's just say we're gonna close $1 billion this month. We bought $1 billion in securities. So that $1 billion in securities is whatever happens with that, it lands on us. So we give the extensions, and it's the bank that gives the extensions. So we give the extensions, and but we can only extend so long, because it does cost money that when we do that. So we will go ahead and work with the consumer, but you really can't do it forever. And sometimes it is the seller's responsibility, meaning they had some construction to do and the contractors didn't show up and whatever. But because of this whole environment,
Do you think we're
everyone's going to have to chip in. Everyone's going to have to chip in on those extensions. But I do have I'm sorry, Kara. I do have the question I want to hit John with.
Yeah, the piano.
So John, the standard purchase and sales states that you'll close on X date unless there's a title flaw. Circling back again and looking at what Kara and Charlotte's been saying here, this P&L, now there's not necessarily a title flaw with what's happening out there. So
No.
how does that verbiage come into play with what's happening out here?
So for contracts now, there's already, as you would imagine, there's already language that addresses it, right? That basically says that in the event, for whatever reason, this was extended because of the COVID-19 virus, that it would automatically, it can be extended for up to 30 days. So very similar to a title defect, right? Language.
Is that how it works though? So COVID, that COVID, it does become a title flaw and you can extend 30 days?
I don't think that's a title flaw. I think that we have language now that basically says that, we put in, so the contracts that we're doing now, we have built-in specific language that we add in after. Right?
But what about 45 days ago where that language wasn't in there?
So, well, I guess at that point in time, I don't know how we would address it. I mean, I suppose we'd address them individually on each specific contract, right? So what you would do is you would reach out to whoever the attorney was on the other side, would request an extension if for whatever reason the financing couldn't go through, or who knows, somebody gets sick, right? So it's fluid. It's a fluid situation.
I know, but legally, can someone lose a deposit if their bank isn't ready to perform? And we're talking about the mortgage companies are fine. I'm talking about the little local banks that, they have told their people not to come in, and they're not. What would happen if they can't perform?
Well, I would imagine. So if you couldn't perform under the contract, then yeah, your money, based on the way a contract is written, there are dates that you're supposed to hit, and if you didn't hit those dates, then yes, your money would be
so
at risk.
Not to interrupt, but that's where a really great professional real estate agent
I was actually, I was just surprised that John was doing it.
and said, no, I'm just going to say that's where you have to watch your dates. And if there's no clear to close, and that buyer hasn't received the clear to close, and you extend and you protect their.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you would do whatever you had to do to be able to look at that contract and find a way that you could either extend it or be
meaning in the title. You're saying like in the title.
Sure. So if there was something that you could find within the title examination or something you could find with respect to the date, or looking at that commitment date and saying, okay, we're not at the commitment date. I mean, I suppose the issue would come in is if you passed the commitment date and then you were unable to perform because the bank was unable to perform.
And that's
So-
what I was talking about, Charlotte.
Right.
is You have a commitment, you've already reached it, and now the closing's like 30 days out, and all this happened. Which
Right.
again, there shouldn't be any reason that you wouldn't close at that point. I was just kind of throwing a one-off out there.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, as far as like deals in process, there are a few under agreement right now, and they're moving to PNS. Is there any language in there in the purchase and sales like today, moving forward, if somebody's signing a purchase and sale, as far as the holdup with, what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, there's language that's built in. I mean, I've seen different ones. I've seen one for 30 days. I've seen one for 45 days that basically says in the event that because of the virus, we're unable to perform on the date, the contract's automatically extended for a 30-day period, and then it can be extended for an additional 30 days with the approval of the seller. So you get an automatic 30-day extension, right, on that contract to perform under that contract. And then past that, you would have to get approval, right? So the parties would have to come to an agreement. Okay, well, it's still not solved and we still can't perform, so therefore we need to extend it out a little bit further. Which would require the cooperation of all parties.
And that's one-off.
I think everybody's going to be cooperating more so in the next
Of
month.
course.
One would hope.
I'm hoping that both sellers and buyers will,
Well, if you have two willing participants and truly the seller wants to sell and truly the buyer wants to sell, I mean to buy, no one's going to throw their hands up and say, I quit. I mean, realistically, that seller is going to have to start the clock all over, and the buyer, let's in a real world, let's hope everyone's going to be, genuine.
And that being said, it's not like you would automatically give up that deposit without a fight anyway. So
exactly.
it wouldn't even be worth the time to fight about the deposit because it would cost more money to fight about the deposit than it would be to return it. It really would.
And I think we should point out, though, it's now with the new verbiage in the purchase and sales, everyone's protected. Everyone's protected.
Yes.
So.
Good,
now, what about
good
coming
point,
deals from the
Brian.
table? Is there any way to add that in so deals in progress right now? So they're, maybe supposed to close in April, May. What are we doing about those deals? Are we just letting them ride out for right now and dealing with them as time goes on, or should we be?
No, I think we're closing them.
Everything's closing. So I think every workaround that is out there, John. I mean, I've actually seen. I don't think there's any reason that a real estate transaction should not close nowadays.
No, and I find that.
Time.
Yeah, we've been closing them. So if you have the date, you have to close it. I think people are pretty receptive to different ways to get these transactions done while keeping everybody safe. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. So we've been able to, our dates are our dates, and we've been able to hit them all. So I think that will be the case going forward.
Good. Good news.
I have one question, Brian. If you're working in a restaurant, would you be considered, because the people that are asked to stay home that are non-essential, that's not a layoff. How are you dealing with that right now?
It depends on the restaurant. Some restaurants have laid their people off, but that doesn't mean when you open back up again, they still need you. Yeah. So right now until April 7th, is it 4th or 7th, guys? I forget.
7th.
I thought it was 7th, yeah.
Yeah, April 7th. There are people that are on a 2-week layoff, and during those 2 weeks, they can get unemployment, and then they're back. They get back to work. The problems that you're going to have is that the companies that were really working, weren't well managed, and they need every penny to come in, to run their business every week. The people that are going to pay for that is the employees, because some of them won't get hired back. But for the most part, this new stimulus bill, what I love that they've done with it is they're making sure that the employer hires back the people before they get any of the stimulus money. So it's totally based on hiring your employees back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Charlotte and I, we kind of want to talk a little bit about how we are working with our buyers currently. I mean, I have had so many conversations with buyers, just basically going over with them and first of all, finding out how they're holding up. I don't know about you
I
guys.
know.
Being locked in a house with a bunch of people. I mean, my 18-year-old daughter, awesome. She's a senior and not very happy right now. So it's been a little bit of
Oh, is she going to be able to graduate or?
you know what? We're getting word down the pipeline. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm hoping
Yeah.
we haven't really heard from her high school yet. But again, having these conversations with people who are out there thinking about it, I think the very first thing is, how are you? How are
Yeah.
you guys doing over there? Are you guys, is everybody okay? And then going on from there. And it's basically, I know what your plans you were thinking of tomorrow, but how about we start to think about afterwards? Because I think there is going to be an afterwards at some point, and maybe looking forward to something instead of looking in the next week or two. And
The world isn't ending, guys. We're all going to be back to work. We're all going to go to some type of normalcy. The world is not ending. This is
no, but it's struggles for a bunch of people right now. And I know there are a lot of people out there trying to figure out, how to get by at the moment. But the ones that we're thinking, and the ones that the sellers that are out there, and there are people getting sick. So you just have to, make sure everything's okay with them first. But going forward though, you're right. It's not ending. It's going to change though. Incredible. I think we're into.
I totally agree. It's going to change, and probably for the better. I honestly, I feel like some of the stuff that you guys talked about, the being able to spend more time and getting on calls like this and being able to show people's houses, and really can you imagine having 4 houses you want to really go see and you've already been kind of through it? You're going to be able to put a second set of eyes on it the next time without the video. I don't know. I actually think it's going to be for the better.
Yeah, I think it'd be more efficient.
Efficient.
Definitely do. I think the relationships will grow a lot more between buyers and real estate professionals. I'm already seeing, I don't know about you, Charlotte, but we've already had multiple conversations this week about buyers getting ready and send me that listing. And I'd love to see, do you have anything else coming on the market? So there's a really underbelly about what's going on and coming soons and new properties coming on and sellers waiting. So we have all these people waiting, and it's kind of like in this big cauldron.
Well, yeah, they're in this queue, and you really just kind of have to take you kind of have to listen to them and listen to what they're saying. Some are still full speed ahead.
And now I've had those conversations with them. So when you guys are sitting at your computers and all of a sudden you've had this conversation on a Wednesday, on a Friday, that listing pops up. You're like, that's exactly what I'm looking for them.
Right, but that goes back to saying, stay in touch with your professional, stay in touch with your loan officer. Make sure you are pre-approved. Make sure, your real estate agent knows you're still looking, or as the real estate agent, stay in contact with your clients, because just because we're on this pause doesn't mean to, just, binge on Netflix. Stay in touch with
or like me, eating macaroni and cheese.
So as far as sellers go, and I think that's why we're here, because all these sellers getting ready that, everybody wants their yard to look good before they put their house on the market. This is our spring market. And, what are you doing today? You're home, hopefully safe and sound. Start doing the things ready and necessary to get your property ready, so that when things change a little bit, you're ready. You're already,
you know what? That's it.
We can help them with that. So there's great technology involved, right, Char? We've got a lot going on where, sellers can take us in a walkthrough of their home, and we can start to give them ideas right now as far as what they should be doing.
In preparation for,
exactly.
Right. Absolutely. And also, you just pointed that out. I've seen that a lot. Like, everyone's joking about how their lawn is never going to be better. And I think that goes back to, with all this time on our hands, you know what? The first impression, you never get a second chance to make that first impression. So the curb appeal of a house. Maybe this spring, everybody's yards are going to be better than they've ever been because they have the time to spend.
There's going to be a lot of wood chips this year.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Right. So I think that's a good point, is, we get to spend that time with them virtually, going through their house, kind of helping them decide, how to prepare. But, externally, their yard, everyone's yard's going to look hopefully nice.
Which leads me to a couple of other things too about the virtual, things we could do for people. There's a lot of technology out there that I don't know if sellers know about that we can start doing right away. And one of them is, we've been talking the 3D virtual tours. I kind of want to give you guys an idea of what that might look like, if that's okay. I'm going to do a screen share real quick.
Sure.
And show anyone that's out there looking what that might look like. So hang on just a minute, and I'm going to try to get my desktop. Hang on. But there's also virtual staging we can do. And I know that I'm planning to do open houses in groups when we're able. So there are things like virtual open houses. So let's say, Charlotte, you have a buyer and I have a listing that's online, but there's no showings. So like on a Sunday afternoon when we really should be showing a home, we can have like an hour where I can personally invite people into a conference like this who are like their agents and the buyers, and start doing the walkthrough tour with them and answering questions as I bring them through the tour too. So it would be like being present at an open house. The listing broker is always there usually and giving them insight about the home. And so I think all of these little tools we have going is really going to come in handy. But hang on, I am going to screen share this right now.
Hey, Kara.
Let me know if you can see it. Oops, sorry,
Yep.
Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte. Okay. Yep. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my, I just put this under agreement, but this is what a 3D tour looks like. One of them, you can literally walk around. She did such a lovely job decorating. She's such a great decorator. But so I'm inside this condo right now in Braintree, and it's not available anymore. And I can walk through. I can see every room. I can see where I'm going. And
this is what you can show a consumer.
This is, yeah. So Brian, I can literally set up an open house on a Sunday and invite agents into a platform such as Zoom or something like this. And I can answer the questions and I can lead them through the property. So right now we're in our den, and this is one of the spare bedrooms. It's the same thing. I would be showing the consumer, the buyers and their agents, like, okay, there's a closet in here, and this is a first floor unit. We're at the entranceway. This is what it looks like.
And you can interact with them if they say, oh, is there a first floor bedroom? Or, how many bathrooms? Does a bathroom have a shower, a tub? Mm-hmm. These are things that you can actually interact with them live on the spot and show them, which I think is really phenomenal.
Yeah, and you can see ceilings and you can see flooring and you can see all around. So like on this one, you can see that there, this is the entranceway of the place. You can actually see the architecture where some of them are slow and can't do that. I think that these ones are really great. Like I can tell them behind these doors is where your laundry, your washer dryer are. So I think our new technology in the world of digital age is going to completely change what we're doing.
I think that's what I just kind of said. I mean, think about it. Now it's kind of a better way to view a property and not have to like travel to 10 houses. You can every now are down to 5.
That's right. And I'm hoping more agents do these, which will be great. I do them. I've been doing these 3D virtual tours for over a year now, and they work out great. And honestly, when people get to your showing, I'm sorry, I've been looking down trying to do this, but when people get to the showing, they already know what it looks like. So they're already prepared. I get, and that leads me to another point. So if you're a seller wondering how we're going to work this, well, we're going to pre-approve all the buyers before they even think about coming into the property. So that's another thing that we really haven't done before. We get a lot of people that are looking, which is great. They can do the looking online, and then when they're ready and they're pre-approved, when all of these maybe are relaxed, the rules get more relaxed, that it gets safer out there to do something, we can control the way it's being shown to begin
now
with.
You're actually pre-approving the buyer. You're pre-approving you're actually pre-approving the view as well. They've already seen it. They can't, they're really just coming in to sum up to make sure that everything's the same as what they saw in the video.
Exactly. It can also go outside too. I mean, I can take you to another one as well, but this was just one I
Can we see what's in the fridge or no?
No, actually this one right here is one, okay, Charlotte, great example. this is a listing that's on the market, but they kind of pulled it because they're not sure it's vacant.
Well, it's a non-MLS actually, but it's
Yeah.
55 plus. Here's an example, you know, immediately when this came out and they said, you know, for older people, social distancing, that was the first kind of step of the announcement. Really, this fell off a cliff. You know, nobody of that older age, retirement age, was coming out to look and view. So this is a great opportunity. I was able to send this to people and basically let them see, you know, parts of the condo that, you know, you wouldn't have been able to see in a solitary picture or, you know, a non-3D thing. So anyway, I think it's a great idea, you know, just moving forward. It's kind of turning the page to, you know, a new way of doing business. And if anything, I think it allows them to, you know, narrow down the process and, you know, see if it checks the box, do a drive-by, you know, prepare themselves before just rushing out. And anyway, I think it's going to be kind of the new look to real estate.
I do. I think it's going to be a norm. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna get back online because we're approaching time. Do you want to wrap it up with anything, John or Brian, as far as final things that you want to point out to make sure people?
No, I think what you have here is just perfect. I mean, honestly, if I looked at a property, I hate getting dragged around from property to property to property. This is phenomenal, and you can legitimately go ahead and see the entire place. Yeah. And then if you want to go, you want to see it, then you call up the agent, or you know, you're talking to you. You've shown me this, and hey, well, let me get your pre-approval letter, and I can, you know, bring you through. And this, I know it's kind of like putting a fortress up around these listings, but maybe it's not such a bad idea to have, you know, forget about the virus. Maybe it's not such a bad idea that, you know, to show pre-qualified buyers who have actually already seen the property and like it online before they come out and see it.
Yeah, I think it's better than pitches. It's definitely better than the pitches.
I think so. I do.
Well, because the pictures, look what they do. The pictures, they're, you know, they take it at the right angle, they take it or whatever, and they take them from up here and down there, and you know, you walk in and you think they're 10-foot ceilings, and they end up being like 6'5".
Yeah, this you can't really hide much in it. It also has measurements and all that.
Guys, you wouldn't believe the number of people that have. I hate to say it. I went on Facebook. You wouldn't believe the number of people that have liked us on this.
Okay. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know.
I've got a zillion messages.
Listen, so okay, why don't we just end it with saying, listen, we're here for you. You know, the consumer, the sellers, and the buyers out there. We are all here, and I'm going to stop my screen share. If you want to see this property, by the way, you're going to have to get in touch with Charlotte, and she can do this for you. But in the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm Cara Willis with Preferred Properties. We're right out of Norwell, and I'm with the Social Home Finder team. And my, you know, the website is www.southshorehomefinder.com. And we're with Charlotte Bittner, who is also with Preferred Properties, greatest office on the South Shore, wouldn't you say?
Yay!
And John Nelson, awesome attorney. Been doing this, 24 years, John? Very knowledgeable guy, real estate attorney, can answer all your questions. John, you want to give out a shout out for your phone number in case anybody wants to get in touch with you or anything?
Yeah, sure. My office is, it's pretty easy. It's 617-770-0077. And no, I appreciate just giving us the opportunity to be here today.
Mm-hmm. And then we have Brian Comer, Draper Kramer Mortgage Company.
Yeah, there she goes again. Have to give out those referrals. It's going to roll off your tongue. No, I'm Brian Comer. I'm out of Norwell. Just do Brian Comer, Norwell Mortgage, or just Brian Comer Mortgage, and I'll come up. But 781-659-6555. And great being with everyone today. Thanks.
Brian, you can apply for a loan and get all kinds of information on your website right from a click, right?
Yeah, or just a quick conversation. I can send it right to your phone. I can send, and you can legitimately, and honestly, our app, I know a lot of people have apps. Ours is phenomenal. Like, it puts PMI in there. It puts, I mean, it is phenomenal. You can either, I mean, you can upload all your docs, take a picture of your license. I mean, ours is just phenomenal. It's insanely good. And I'm not just saying that because it's my app. I am
So,
kind of.
how long do you think it would take, as far as what the people get to you? I mean, I know it's, general
Pre-approval, under
Yeah.
a half hour.
half hour.
Nice.
Under a
What
half hour. You know,
what-
we can pull your credit report right off the app, you legitimately, and then we can upload it so you can have it in front of you.
Mhm. And what kind of
And what we
documents?
do is I have to keep on going. We connect you and the agent on the same app. And then when we get a call from Kara to say, hey, we're going to see this property, it's 325, can you send me over a new pre-approval? I go right to the app, I go to the borrower's name, put the 325 in there, and it goes to both you, the consumer, and to your realtor, so you have the pre-approval, so in case you want to go ahead and put the offer in. So there's none of this, hey, I got to go to the office or anything like that.
And it's always good. I always tell my buyers anyway, or anyone thinking, to go ahead and get your pre-approval, because what you find out today in the rates could be changing in a few months, but it's nice to have an idea just in case there are any issues going on, and you can kind of solve them as you go, right?
And everyone's been more pleasantly surprised because rates have come down a full point since last year.
Right.
So, when you thought you were only qualified for 4, now you're qualified for 425.
Mhm. Right. I think it's amazing that the rates are doing what they're doing still in this economy. I do think that, we are going to see a dip, but I do think that that dip will recover as Americans, get a handle it, and hopefully.
It's going to be V-shape.
Yeah,
So they-
exactly. A V-shape.
Where you're going to be able to get get the best price on the home is going to be here. It's going to go right back up again.
Yeah, that's what Charlotte and I were talking. I used an analogy. I don't know when, but it was about if you've ever used a lawnmower in your backyard, a push lawnmower, and it dies all of a sudden, and then you pull that stupid thing once, and then it kind of goes boom, and then it dies, and then you pull it again, and it kind of, you hear it, and then it kind of goes down, and then the third time it revs up and it's right back where it was.
That's my leaf blower.
Yeah. Okay. So we all have, a tool or whatever you use that you could probably.
Don't forget, everybody's lawn is going to look amazing this
I
spring.
hope
So
so.
nice
Well,
tie-in.
Well, good luck, everybody. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a great day, all. If you have any questions, give us a ring.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.